Okay, one question by Peter Raspor and from
Thank you.
Alexandru.
Thank you. I'm not from the company because we work more than 7 hours per day, you know. Because in science, that's how you are cloned to work all the time. So that's how it is. But coming to the point, thank you for nice presentations, and certainly I very much enjoyed. Since I was not involved with the project, I really could see that great achievement was done in practical terms as well as theoretical terms. And I certainly very much admired you really to perform all these experiments and to bring final product to the point for eating, not just for production, but also for eating. And one question which I have here is really connected to the sensorial analysis, which was somehow mentioned in between. I cannot really specifically ask person, but probably you all tested these products and you compared to the I would say normal counterpart. How did you find it really? How did you find as consumer not really thinking about your profession which is behind? This would be my question. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, from left to right. Yes. You all have some products.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think we, at each baker, at most of the bakers, they have done consumer tests, and that was, not really consumer response, and first getting the preference, and in the second stage, selling the product also. So, of course, when you get the product for free, now we can always say it's nice, but when you have to pay for it, that is a second thing. And indeed, and apparently, a number of our bakers got very good response. Also, and in our case, it was not in scientific consumer test that you have two products and that you have blind things. It was just you have this product, you get a story, the nutrition communication, why it is good for you, and you make a kind of score how good it is. And then later on there was a kind of also pilot thing. Now you can buy it. So that was the way it worked. So different from scientific consumer test, where this, but it worked because our bakers are continuing.
Perfect. Okay, thank you very much for the question. Regarding the pleasure products, we were doing a short sensory during the development stage, where we had expert panels to see if there are any difference regarding the saltiness perception or the fatty or the texture. And finally, each single development, because in our case, each single work package, it can be stated that it was like a smaller project, as we were dealing with different foods. I mean, ham didn't have so much in common with the bakery. So, but finally, at the end, when we had the optimization, they had internal, for example, at the University College Core, they had consumer tests where they brought 70 people and they test from 6 products, and 2 of them were not identified as any other difference between the conventional ones. I was also testing the cheese. With the cheese, it is, especially in the pleasure context, it is a bit hard to judge the cheese itself because it's a mozzarella style pizza and it is not meant to eat it as alone product. The idea is to put it on the pizza, and there it is pretty hard to realize where from it comes the feeling, if it's coming from the cheese or if it's coming from the this is one of the stuff which we are studying at the moment in the project. We are still having 6 months, but in general the products are okay. It is very important in order to bring them on the market. It is very important to have also proper education of the consumer to be successful with such products. We are having a big industrial partner, for example, for the pizza dough. We are having APM. They recently changed because they were taking over by another company. They changed their name into Eurodough. And they are gathering more than 600 employees, and they had a specific interest to bring a low dough on salt on the market, and it's working. So my impression can be subjective because I am coordinating the project, but I have to rely on also on the other industry and on the consumer. So I think we are having a realistic chance to bring the concepts on the market, and this was also confirmed by the participation in the last conference, the industrial participation in our last conference. So I think that's what we had.
I have no product. It's not me.
I can answer very briefly. We are using normally a trained sensory panel, minimum 11 person, using a 20-point system, weighted the different characteristics, and this system can be statistically evaluated, and the basis of the decision is the statistical evaluation. This is what we are. This is only panel what we are using, and the only way we didn't do any preference test in the consumers area.
I would also answer on behalf of the Chance project about the other products, not only bread. Let's say that many of the products are really based on the population preferences, which are really different from country to country. I think that most of the research afterward will be about the optimization of the taste. That could be reached just by adding some spices or some further ingredients which are not modifying the texture or modifying the content of fat or salt or something else, but is just making the taste more similar to the habits of that population. Let me say that in Italy, for example, there is an increasing fashion about using kamut pizza and some other ancient grain pizza. So, and there is also a different pizza made not more from bakery yeast fermentation, but by using a different dough or something else. And let me say that it's really related to the sensitivity of the pizza maker or to the pizza seller to push the buyers, the consumers, to try one. And they say, now they are starting to say, eat it, because you will feel better after eating it. You will feel less blowing, because many people after eating normal pizza feel like me having some blowing, and they actually, I don't know if there is some placebo effect, but they feel better. So it is really something related, also the tastes are related to what is the communication aside. So we can improve.
The story is very important, which is sold together with pizza.
Yes. So we, let me say that the first time I went in USA, I bought a pizza, and I didn't recognize it at all. I thought it was something else, and fortunately, I only a slice. But then, after also the coffee in Europe, it's different from ours. But when you stay there for a longer time than more than 2 weeks, then you start to enjoy a different taste. So I know that taste must be important, but a taste, as the winemakers are just learned, also taste could be refined, or they call it refined, but it's still educated. So I catch your point, and I think that the next investment, so we did not focus only on one product. And if you do your research on one product, you can be perfect at the end. We prepared, you see, a lot of prototypes, each one coming close to an acceptable taste, but then it could be still improved. So, Alessandra, was your question?
Yeah. I agree completely that sensory characteristics are the most important thing for food. I mean, food must be good for my stomach, not only for my health. But apart from this, do you think that a prolonged shelf life could be another characteristic that is considered important for consumers, or something on which it is necessary to work on? And a special question to András, sorry, but from your slides and in my experience, SMEs or industries from the food compartment are quite reluctant to work together. How do you explain it?
The one thing you are talking about, the working together of SMEs, that was one thing.
Working in the same field, cooperate in the same project. I mean, in Italy at least, if you are an SME producing dairy, you don't want to work together with other dairy producing companies. So it's in other fields, cooperation is much bigger. So I don't know exactly if it's a problem of the impossibility to patent food. So if you work together with someone else, you are afraid that your idea is stolen by someone else. I don't know, but I think it's very difficult to improve food products without cooperation, because research is expensive. So if it is possible for industries to work together, it's easier to obtain a result.
I think regarding my project, I could observe, for instance, those companies like Kampfmeier, they like such a project because they have to focus more than in the normal work on a special theme and to continue, and by the others you go deeper. That's one thing. So that by the cooperation, yeah? So? Sorry. Okay, yeah, sorry, I was, okay. So indeed, one aspect is that companies, they joined the project and are experiencing that they come further than when alone by this cooperation. That's one thing. The second thing we experienced that system of that mentoring partners that worked quite well, that each SME baker was not accustomed to EU bureaucracy and everything, has a mentor helping him, and also both with the administration and both with the technology. And then we have seen also in between our bakers that when we have meetings, there was a lot of exchange. So the project as such helped a lot in improving this cooperation. That are just observations here, and maybe this, if you really want to involve SMEs, that mentoring model may be applied also elsewhere. That I could say. Yeah.
So regarding the shelf life, actually a very good question. We are reducing the salt, so immediately we have a problem with the shelf life. Now, this we were already considering from the proposal stage, and therefore each single work package which is developing the individual food commodities is having one task which is working throughout the complete duration of the project, throughout the complete 36 months, which is dealing only with shelf life. So in parallel with any development, they are testing the shelf life, because yes, indeed, from the industrial point of view, from the profit, we don't want to have a product which is great but lasts only half of a day or 1 day. So it should stay also several days on the shelves. So we were considering that in some of the developments. Sure, they don't work from the beginning. You have to find different solution. You have to look for other strategy which may be during the proposal stage or the negotiation stage you were not thinking. But yes, indeed, there is an aspect which we consider. And for the second question, involving different SMEs in the project, at least in Pleasure project, we did not have problems with conflict of interest, as were having from the consortium stage that so-called cluster approach, in which we had a researcher and minimum one SMEs. In case they were two, then they were on different things. Yeah. But yes. But from other projects, I can say that where we have different SMEs on the same area. Just to enhance the impact of the project, But there, I would say that it is very important the role of the coordinator, which should state and should put from the beginning property rights, and then the SMEs can even enhance the collaboration and maybe bring some common products. That can be, but it's hard building a consortium with more SMEs having exactly the same background and more or less the same activity, because then it's not justifiable from the financial point of view, and the European Commission will say, why do you need 3 instead of 1? Because they are all 3 doing the same. So it's not easy, but it's workable. We have examples where it worked very good.
You answer, I want to add another question. We have examples where it worked very good. Before you answer, I want to add another question also to András. I want to add another question to you. Both are you András? But I think that there is also a difference in the kind of products. There are products that could be only sold locally or more or less locally. I saw that the success of your production was measured in 30 kilos per day, which is a local market, let's say, because bread is locally sold. But if you think about something that could also reach a yogurt or a Danacol, just without making any name, and could be sold everywhere, then the secretness of the recipe it's very important, because they have, just because the food probably is not patentable, then the secret is very important. And so I'm asking you if this could be a correct interpretation. The other thing is he has just right now told that the role of the coordinator. Yes, when you are talking about a European project, you are talking about money coming from Europe, and so this is a very good coolant, a very good clue. And secondly, probably the coordinator is also having a role of a warranty, no? A guarantee for not disclosing some information from one partner to the other partner which are sensitive. So, but when, and this is why I'm asking to András Sebők, when you are outside the European projects, how they behave? How they behave? Because if they are doing cooperation, because Alexandru is saying research is costing a lot. If they don't put together, they will not have enough capital to do that research. But then, who is the property? Who is the owner?
I have to mention several aspects. One of them, I mean, all of these businesses are led by their own financial and business interests. So that's not, it's not worth to hide that. That's absolutely clear, that always we have to consider this. Usually if we involve several businesses whose knowledge is complementary, then there is no conflict of interest. If we bring together people who are competitors or potential competitors and do not make complementary things, then there is a jealousy, then there is a lot of difficulties. I have my personal experiences. On one side, with some of the businesses with whom we work together for more than 30 years. So with this, we can do very easily projects if they are interested outside any external funding, and they are very pushy because they want to get the results. The concept usually what we do that if they pay for the services, they own the results. So so we are a knowledge provider. If there is a extraordinary big invention which is relatively rare, then we discuss the ownership of the intellectual property. But usually we think we are relatively relaxed, saying that if we give this result for them, we will have tomorrow another idea. So that's like a production system. Once I had a very interesting project, or not two projects. I took two businesses with whom we work regularly to the UK, to ship in Campden. And at the dinner, we had a meal, and next day, the research managers for both companies approached me separately that I want you to develop for us this product. This was one of the most interesting things because we had to develop two completely different concepts for the same thing. They knew about this. Of course, we haven't disclosed what we are doing from one to another, and there was no conflict. So usually what we say that if a company is funding the work, we are service providers, or our service is our knowledge, and they should own the results. Usually this is what I'm proposing during the European projects, but we may have a general knowledge, I mean the procedure. We own the procedure, but they own the specific applications, and if we invite somebody to an advisory board, or as a project partner, or an SME panel, if we don't give them something why they should contribute, they will not do it properly. So actually, my experience, in many cases, when we have a completely new idea or new concept, the difficult, and we want to put it on the market and work on contractual basis. Usually we select a business with whom we have a trust and with whom we work. They have to sign a confidentiality agreement. That means that they will not disclose our procedures and results to the others, but usually we do it freely. So if they are ready to suffer the development of the practical experience, because even if you have a perfect concept, until you get there that it works smoothly, they have to invest a lot of time. So our experience is that it's worth to do the first project even freely to get the first SME reference, and after then we earn this money back 150 times, 20 times, 100 times. But that's my experience about this. Why food businesses are reluctant to work together, because of the nature of the diffusion of the innovation in the food sector. I mean, if you think, for example, of the car manufacturing sector, where I changed my car 2 years ago. I wanted to buy certain safety and comfort electronics features. At a certain point, I realized that all of the 5 different brands have the same function, and later I found out that this is supplied by one manufacturer because it's standardized. In food, it's impossible. Okay. So that's a very big difference, because you can't make such a general solution because of the differences in the taste, the local supply, the culture, the differences in the technologies. So that's a very important issue, and we do not make such breakthrough innovations. It's very difficult to protect simply by the nature of the development. Okay. Another short comment about the shelf life. It depends on the business concept, what you want to sell and how. For example, usually increasing the shelf life is a very important aspect with short shelf life products. In the frozen food industry, we do deliberately reverse the contrary. I mean, frozen peas can be stored without any real quality decrease for 5 years, but if you try to sell somebody frozen peas which are 5 years old, they will be frightened. So therefore, we limit the shelf life because the images, the image. So it was. I mean, just another. I mean, the image. I mean, when we started to think on the explanation of the ingredients what we produced during the Namaste project, one of the first things what we had to discuss, that if we tell to the consumer that we are brilliant because we produce nice ingredients for you from waste, they will run away. I mean, you mustn't communicate Yes, so it was a very hard job until we fine-tuned the message.
We call them side products.
Yes, byproduct. First we called them byproducts, and secondly we told that byproducts are just the secondary products. This is not waste. It's a useful, edible part. Otherwise you can't sell it.
Yes. What about our shelf life?
I'm just going to comment. I'm just going to comment very briefly the cooperation with SMEs. In our region, the SMEs, good case, the SMEs has a midterm R+D ideas, but they have no long term. That means the small and flexible small enterprises are first what they are asking me.
We need to sorry, could you
No, I will be very brief.
No, it's okay.
So the first question what they are put, what is their benefit to cooperate in a project? Second one, what should we do? And if I'm clearing what should be do and they are agreed, then they are doing very fast and very flexible. But it is very hard to cooperate in that region, in the SMEs. Yeah.
The shelf of our bakery products,
our bakery product, the shelf life is only handled if they are producing packaged materials. But the normal daily products, they have no problems with the shelf life.